It's on preparing Indian security industry for cyber security management. And ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming our panelists for this session. Sanjay Kaushik, ARVP, ACES International; Ratna Pawan, Transformation Director, Risk Advisory, Ernst & Young; Preeti Dubey, Founder and Director, Strive High Private Limited; and moderating this session is Colonel Inderjeet Barara, CIO and Chief Cyber Officer. Vara. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's so good to have you here. And Colonel, please, it's all yours.
Yeah. So good evening, everyone, and good evening, business world and Dr. Mathur. Really wonderful discussions I was hearing, and very inquisitive one, and very pertinent to the real life examples. That's more important. And thank you for this particular panel. And this is again something what we are trying to talk of, very futuristic, very much apt, and very much required for today's environment. And I have with me very august panelists. And first is the Preeti Dubey, who's there, and then is the Sanjay Kaushik and Ratna Pawan. And it's really a pleasure to have you on the panel. And just to give you as an opening remark, because we like to discuss on the very practical aspect of it, and what I would like to bring in, that the cyber attacks are really going. While we are talking, every 11 seconds there is an ransomware attack. They're very sophisticated, and every year, the magnitude is really increasing, and they have got a serious impact. Just to give you an example, most of you may be aware, may not be aware, that we are getting into the end of the year. We have been hit by one of the biggest vulnerability of our time. That's called the Log4j, right? And that's the vulnerability in Java. And it affects almost every machine which is running on this earth. Nobody thought of that kind of cyber attack which can happen, a vulnerability which could be exploited. And what's happening? The companies are losing half of their net profits due to the cyber attack. Now, what it entails is that if the companies are really not planning how to prepare for the cyber attack, and we are all aware the cyber security was always the last point for discussion every time in the board meeting. Notwithstanding, seeing the magnitude of cyber attacks, the boards now want to discuss the cyber security, the cyber posture of their companies right away. And the cyber security management becomes more important from a strategic point of view. While we talk about the operational point of view, we have different security controls, we have firewalls, we have the endpoint securities, but at a strategic level, do we have the cyber security policy in place? Do we have the cyber risk management in place? Whether we have the cyber incident management in place, right? All those factors now become really very important when we go from the point of discussion. So I will, now pass on to my panelists and ask Preeti Dubey, as to what is her view on the cyber security posture. What are the challenges what we are facing right now? If you would like to throw some light on. Preeti, over to you.
First of all, thanks a lot. Warmest greetings to each and everyone here. And I would like to thank BW Business World and BW Security World for the opportunity to address such an august audience on this momentous occasion of Outstanding Security Performance Awards. And thanks to your question, I'd like to begin with a statement. There are two types of companies: those who know that they've been attacked and those who don't know they've been hacked. And these are the famous words of Mike Rogers, the chairman of House Intelligence Committee US. Now, this may be a hypothetical statement, but it is profound and calls for attention to the greatest risk organizations and people face around the world, because everyone, every business, most people, all of us are going virtual every single day. Now, given the fact that as per the government data presented in the parliament, nearly 1.16 million cases of cyber attacks in India were reported in 2020 alone, making an average of 3,137 cybersecurity issues reported every day of the year. And perhaps there are as many, if not more, cases that were even unidentified. The cost of data breach report 2020 released by IBM reported that the average cost of data breach in India in 2020 was 2 million, which is an increase of 9.4% since 2019. Now, since the arrival of COVID-19 pandemic, India has witnessed a 4,000% increase in phishing emails and a 400% spike in the number of policy violations. 66% of the organizations in India have suffered at least one data breach or cyber attack since shifting to a remote working model during pandemic. And as per the Internet Crime Report by FBI, India is ranked third in world among the top 20 countries being victimized by cybercrime. Now, the digital technology is woven throughout the fabric of society. Business systems, accounting, banking, engineering, and product design, command and control, manufacturing operations, communications, supply chains, air traffic control, unmanned vehicles all make extensive use of digital technology. And the dependence is deepening. And given the fact that there are 1.18 billion mobile connections and 700 million internet users and 600 million smartphones, which are increasing in 25 million per year. The point that I want to highlight is that under current circumstances, with the evolution of this industry revolution 4.0, IoT has created a network of billions of smart devices that communicate with one another. And this network, ranging from simple light bulbs to sensitive command system, is rapidly expanding. So together, we are in a space where these devices are constantly talking. And the most vulnerable of the entire system, like the saying is that security is as strong as its weakest link. And the most vulnerable of it all is the human being. So I would discuss that point later, but to your question, this is what this is where I see that we are at a point that we really need to have this discussion and come up with some real solutions. And that's what I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, thanks, Prerna. Really wonderful. Preeti, really wonderful points. And you've given actually the whole holistic view of what's really happening today in the cyber world. And the cyber situation is really very trivial when it comes to the security point of view. So I will just move on to Ratna for giving her viewpoints as to what are the the cyber risks which are there today and how she looks at it.
Hi, Kanan Singh, and thank you very much. Firstly, I'd like to thank Business World. I'd like to thank Dr. Rajiv Mathur and for this, and thank the other panelists as well. I'm really glad to be here. And I'm even more glad because I can really see good diversity here in this panel, which is normally not the case in most of the panel discussions I've been to. Anyways, coming back to your question, Colonel Singh, Preeti did talk through a couple of statistics, but let me start off. And I'm going to focus on, the whole pandemic and its relationship with the cybersecurity management. The world as we had known had anyway started moving towards a digital ecosystem for work, banking, entertainment, communication, which the pandemic only accelerated further 18 months back. Also, we now acknowledge that the pandemic may abate in the medium term, even as the Omicron is upon us, but the digital transformation will continue unabated, as will the remote workforce to an extent. And we all know that all organizations are talking about moving some portion remotely. However, the cyber threat landscape has also grown dynamically as an unintended effect of this progressive momentum. We all acknowledge that. Motivated cyber criminals prey on societal vulnerabilities, and COVID-19 was definitely not an exception there. Again, quoting some statistics, and Preeti mentioned some very interesting ones there. But let me state a few as well, because I believe sometimes stats can speak better than just English words. The rate of cybercrime increased by 600% during the COVID-19 pandemic. Costly ransomware attacks, data breaches, and technology outages affecting major corporations became a regular facet of news in 2020 and continues well into 2021. The two sectors that we know were most impacted are healthcare and financial services. Since I'm from the financial services industry myself, that's something that I kept a close watch on, and a very disturbed watch on, of course. During the pandemic, almost all work that could move remote did so overnight very efficiently. And it's no wonder here that according to Cisco's 2021 cybersecurity threat trends report, the email phishing attacks accounted for 90% of all data breaches while working from home. Again, employees are obviously moving away from their secure office environments with enterprise network monitoring, firewalls, event and data analytics to more vulnerable home networks containing maybe rogue devices or outdated equipment, weak or non-existent, home Wi-Fi security, and so on. But interestingly, surveys suggest that almost 50% of employees cited distraction as the main reason for falling for a phishing scam while working from home. And I think Preeti said that as well. And I repeat here that therefore, people are the weakest link in any security chain anywhere, right? Which we all acknowledge. Also, during the pandemic, certain types of attacks, like the COVID-19 themed attacks, where the cyber criminals wove the pandemic into their phishing or social engineering scams, just jumped manifold. The associated data and privacy concerns also got enhanced because now attackers could more easily fake digital identities and hijack data remotely. As per a Gartner report, 50% of respondents had experienced a cybersecurity risk incident in the past 2 years. And I think the balance 49% are not aware that they have. But, eventually, I think they will realize that as well. Again, quoting a very disturbing statistic, cybercrime is expected to result in a total loss of $6 trillion worldwide by the end of 2021, growing by 15% per year until it reaches a staggering 10.5 trillion by 2025. Now, I wouldn't want everybody to just focus on these numbers, but this is just to show a trend of where this is all going, really. And this is honestly just a looking glass into what the future of cyber threats might look like for us, all of us. Back to you, Kanasi.
Thanks, Ratna. Very insightful and good points which you brought in. And I will move quickly to Sanjay, and then I'll come back with the second round. So, Sanjay, what are your views on the overall scenario and the challenges which we are facing right now?
Thanks, Kanal Singh. And at the outset, let me first of all congratulate Business World and OSPA for the fantastic event and the awards which they have launched in India. This is the second award in the row they have brought to India. So congratulations to both of you, and thank you for having us as a panelist here, and a very important and a very pertinent topic which we have been discussing, I think, throughout the pandemic. Only thing which we were having to our rescue was, I think, the internet and the computer, because we were all locked down into the rooms. This was the only thing which could have taken us out. We could have spoken to people, we could have seen people on the screens. Otherwise, we were all locked down. So looking at, whatever my both co-panelists, Ratna and Preeti, had spoken about, they have given a lot of statistics. So I'll just refrain talking of more statistics here. But I think one thing which is important, and both of my co-panelists has agreed that the human is the most weakest link in the entire security system. I have been talking in past quite a bit on this, that you might spend millions of dollars in, you could spend capex of millions of dollars in establishing the best of the infrastructure, best of the equipments, best of the firewalls. But if your team is not trained enough, if your team is not aware enough, what will you do? Now look at the pandemic situation when it started. we were all not ready that this is going to happen. And the lot of back offices, which were never allowed to work from home, were suddenly asked to work from home. Now, they were not having the systems at their places. I know a couple of clients of ours requested us to get them help to get opened some of the warehouses of companies like Dell or other laptop providers, where they needed the pass, they needed the movement pass and the COVID pass and everything. And they could have taken their systems and dropped these systems to the houses of the people who are working. Now, were these people actually trained for that? Were they aware of what the cybersecurity is? When we look at training and awareness, we look at of the right now, no, we are looking at future, that if in future some eventuality happen, what is we going to do? So it has to be, cybersecurity has to be looked into a very, very different way of how do we train our people, how do we keep our people aware for a longer term impact which might happen. It's just like an insurance. Training and awareness is just like an insurance, that if something wrong happens, then how are you going to act? A lot of time people will have the mock drills at their offices for fire. How many times have we started doing the phishing attacks simulation in our offices? Some companies, yes, I know banks, I know some of them do, but largely people do not go for simulation of phishing attacks. Some of our clients have started doing it. Some of our clients have gone through, after the second wave was over, they were preparing for their IPO. One of them went for the ransomware attack. Their entire back office servers, entire data was encrypted, and they were into big soup because they were just preparing for IPO. Now, before IPO, if you are under a ransomware attack, you can understand the impact of that on the entire organization. The another organization, their entire data was available on dark web. Now, since we were helping those companies to look at dark web and monitoring of dark web, that if there is some data, we could have informed them even before it was gone to media or somebody else, and then they were able to take care of that. But is everyone looking at that serious? I've been talking to a lot of my friends in the industry, in my clients, that is the cybersecurity only a responsibility of a large corporate? Or we have to look at cybersecurity from a small, probably a very small business having 2, 4, 5 computers. Are they not required to have cybersecurity? They are. They might not able to spend huge amount of money, but they could be made aware, they could be trained, and they could at least put certain kind of programs, firewalls, antiviruses, which they can help so that they are not under the attack. Because if anyone into your ecosystem gets attacked, and from that vendor, if you are dealing, which is a very small vendor, and he sends you a mail, and that mails can contain trojans or malicious activity, which can actually impact entire of your system. So that's a large problem to look at. Again, the other thing which I always talk about is to develop a security program or a cybersecurity management program in today's digital world. Cybersecurity needs to evolve from a back office IT issue to an enterprise-wide business consideration. We need to look at 360 degree. We need to look at the entire risk management. It's not only cybersecurity. It's not only the job of CISO. It is the entire enterprise risk-wide business consideration which we need to look into this. Cybersecurity management processes can be looked as a complex system of interrelated elements that act in concert with one another to achieve the overarching goal of secure systems. It's to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. And this may be used, these techniques can be used to improve security of the organization, which could be policy, technology in particular, and driven by some policies. The cybersecurity management processes applies technology and requires effective planning in order to achieve the goal. I've been always talking about the planning. A lot of clients of ours calls us and tells us that, okay, I need a ISO 27001. I need to be compliant. I need to do this. I need to do this. My first question to them is, are you looking for a certificate, or you actually looking at implementing the ISO or ISMS certification, ISMS, controls. So most of the time, the client will say, okay, I'm ready to invest my time and energy and money. But how many times the client actually gives you time? Because even the top management, if they're ready to give you time, how many times it is that the HODs, the different vertical heads will give you time, because it is their involvement which will only help you to effectively implement the controls into the system. These are my initial points. Over to you, Karan Singh.
Thanks, Sanjay. And very interestingly, this is a pain point is the skill gap which is there in the cybersecurity, and where we are actually finding the pinch of the having the right skilled people in the cybersecurity. And the other aspect which you brought in is very important from a practical point of view. So, the net, it's a challenge. What we are seeing, practical implications are difficult, and implementations of cybersecurity to the grassroots level becomes majorly a challenge. While we say, while COVID-19, we know all the figures on the table, we know the challenges what we face. We know that now there's a challenge that we need to train the last person in the company and the top person in the company for the cybersecurity. And my question to the panel is that should we leave the cybersecurity aspect in the Indian scenario just to the CISO, or the management should take the leadership role to drive the cybersecurity measures, and they should take into account what are the risks of cyber attacks on the organization and their impact on the company, while also conducting cyber security investment, because without investment, we talking about the cyber security will really not, fetch results. And that's really going to work for the growth of the company. So I will like to move again back to Preeti first, and then to Ratna, and then coming back to Sanjay again. Yeah, Preeti, over to you, please.
So as I think that's a very good question that you have raised, Colonel Indrajit, that is it just the responsibility of the C-suite? It is important to remember that C-suite actually creates the tone. The tone is set from the top. The culture of an organization is set by the top, from the top, because everybody in the hierarchy is there to please the top. I mean, you get the value system that an organization kind of imbibes. It comes from what the people in the leadership position, what their value systems are, what they perceive as more important. So a cyber security, I mean, security in itself, like understanding risk, taking extra steps to manage risk is an extra process. Risk management itself, it causes a kind of inconvenience, for somebody to do their job, day-to-day job in a very conventional way, but then to finish their job in the required time frame, vis-a-vis being careful about every email that you get, or being careful that, if there is anything suspicious that you need to take an extra step, that takes a little bit of time. Now, what are the protocols of the organization as such? So those really do determine the behavior of the people in the organization. So whether people perceive the risk, they do the right risk assessment, are they aware of the, of doing the situational awareness properly? Are they prepared to take the next steps to mitigate the risk? All of that comes through the guidelines set by the top, and of course with the HR and the risk management system, etc. Now we've all agreed that a human aspect is the weakest link in the cyber security piece. And the threats posed by social engineering are misunderstood primarily because a lot of the topic of cybersecurity has been really studied from the angle of, say, engineers, IT people, but the topic of human behavior. Why do people fall for say a phishing email? Why do people not kind of create emails which are complex and not so simple, like having a spouse's name as a password? So these kind of things, these kind of behavioral issues need to be seen and addressed from a behavioral perspective, from a psychologist perspective, or we can even call it um, uh, uh, like the business, the behavioral economics aspect of it. So what is it that is incentivizing the hackers, and what is it that might incentivize the employees to actually not succumb to these kind of pressures? So assessment planning and cyber resilience are definitely key areas that must be integrated into the cyber aware culture that needs to be set across the organization. Now, since the introduction and proliferation of the internet, problems involved with maintaining cybersecurity have grown exponentially and involved into many forms of exploitation. Yet, the cybersecurity has far too little study and research. So incorporating a little bit of behavioral cybersecurity and training the people, what the approach that we need to kind of apply is having a greater understanding and generating more awareness among people, so that they don't succumb to those risks easily. In the last panel discussion, I heard that the risk-taking behavior in India is quite rampant. So then the way we evaluate risk, the amount of risk that we take or the people in the organizations take, so those some kind of training to make them aware that what it can eventually lead to, not only for the organization, but for their personal, issues as well. Social media awareness, fake news. So there are so many areas, and with the Internet of Things, everything getting connected, and the data more, which is like so much data is available for people who are sitting there just waiting to create, find the opportunities to hack as the weakest, the people who are vulnerable, or the areas that are vulnerable. So perhaps this kind of risk awareness, having the habits to and also the right policies and the knowledge about how to manage this risk, I think would play a very, very eminent role in creating a culture within an organization where people do not fall for for such cyber security related issues.
Yep. So thanks. You brought in cyber resilience. So that was pretty important, and cyber hygiene, and some of the strategic level things which are very important from a company's perspective to be cyber safe. I move on to Ratna, and for your viewpoints on the same aspect.
So, Colonel Singh, just to answer your question, C-suite, obviously, we all understand, sets the tone from the top. But what they lack is an understanding of cyber security aspects, which is where the CISO comes in. The CISO brings the subject matter expertise to the table, but definitely it is not just the CISO's responsibility to ensure that that particular organization is cyber safe, because it is not the job of one person or one department. I am personally a strong proponent of organization resilience as a concept, which means that it is not just managing any one particular risk in a silo, but bringing all of the risks, understanding all of the risks, doing a risk analysis across the spectrum of risks that can impact the organization, all of it resting with, maybe a few people within the risk management team who understand the basics of this risk, of course, and taking the steps necessary to ensure that the organization is not only cyber safe, information and security, data security, because all of these risks right now we understand are linked. So if one is compromised, the other is compromised. If there's a cyber attack, your data is compromised, your privacy is compromised. So if ever there was any doubt, I would say that the only way forward in this rebound area is to apply security by design. State of the art technology solutions and innovative security management techniques will be required to save the organization's digital as well as physical assets, with obvious focus on, network security, threat detection, and security monitoring, of course. Organizations will need to target the risks that matter most in the race to the digital and the hybrid future that we are seeing. Basically, plan practical strategies to address the most significant future risks and prioritize the risks according to the rating, because you cannot target everything, right? Also, I think one of us spoke about the fact that not all organizations have focused cyber security expertise within the organizations. And I think, Sanjay, you spoke about it in terms of, smaller organizations, and that's where the real risk is. And these smaller organizations are feeding into the larger organizations either as a vendor. So like we speak about COVID, nobody is safe unless everybody is safe. So, going by a statistic, and if you believe it, then by 2025, 60% only of organizations globally, and that too in highly regulated industries, is expected to have dedicated cyber risk management, which means that we still have a large percentage of, especially, and I think that that's the SME that we're talking about here, which will still have a lack of expertise and maybe lack of funding, maybe lack of, know-how in terms of protecting their environmental thing. And that's where we need to be careful. Of course, otherwise there are multiple industry risk management frameworks that are there today for organizations that describe the expected steps or processes for management of cyber and IT risks, like the NIST 800 or the ISO 27005. But, to Sanjay's point, how many of us or how many of the organizations are getting into it for the certification versus to really implement and augment their risk exposures and risk management frameworks. So that's that for me, Colonel Singh.
Yeah, great. So, one point which you have aptly brought it out, that it's not just the CISO who's responsible, and it's a whole lot of people who are there, and the people who are, giving the budgets for the cybersecurity are very important, right? And security by design, because most of the companies, they don't go by security by design, they go security by requirement, right? So that's the biggest challenge. So over to you, Sanjay, and your point as well.
Yeah, thank you. I think both of you, my co-panelists, have covered it very, very vastly. And, the first point in my first turn, I spoke about that, is that only a CISO's responsibility? And I think you covered it on the second point. However, looking at, again, going back to the same thing that, when we talk about CISO, what is that CISO going to bring in? Ratna very aptly point out that CISO is going to bring out the technology, probably the expertise. He's the subject matter expert. But how much the emphasis on the training and awareness is given, that's something which is very, very critical. If your entire team, like Ratna again very, very aptly said, that we are not safe if we are not 100% safe. It can't be that 60% are okay and 40% are, allowed to click on any of the email which is coming in. Your systems cannot be safe, whatever you might do, whatever systems you put in, whatever firewall you put in, whatever endpoint security you put in, it is a difficult task. Just look at the password policy. Some of the CISO says, okay, especially you go to the banks, every bank has a different password policy. Now, some of the banks have started using that you cannot use the last 3 passwords. Now, what we do is, just for the ease of remembrance, just for the something, we will keep a very, very simple password. First time we'll keep 3 zeros. or 6 zeros or 8 zeros, whatever the numbers is. Next time it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next time it is something else. And these are the 3 passwords which is gone. And somebody was telling me the other day that I've kept 4 passwords and they are rotating, because you can't keep the 3 passwords in a row. It's the 4th one which comes in, and every time I rotate the same thing. Now, is that the meaning of the policy? How many times we are careful of changing the password before the system is popping up us and telling us that you need to change your password? How many times you have said, okay, it's good thing that we'll change the password, or we have just kept like this that, oh God, once again I have to change the password. And the kind of number of credit cards each one is having, the number of bank accounts each one is having, your official computer, your mobile, and you don't know how many things, your iCloud and Gmail and whatnot. How many passwords one will remember? Somebody, in one of the conferences asked me that, what is the best way to remember your password? I said, don't remember, just use the forget password every time and put a new password. That's a very innovative idea to look into it. But how many passwords will one remember, and how many times are you going to keep it into the, is the keychain safe? Are you keeping your all passwords in the keychain? Is it safe? Is writing somewhere safe? There was one client of ours who came to us. He said, my iPhone has got reset. And you know what? I had invested good amount of money in cryptocurrency, and I've taken a photo of that, which was there in my iPhone, and that now the mobile has reset, the entire data has gone. What shall I do? I said, okay, let's try some of the tools which we have to recover your data from there, but I don't know how much will be successful, because iPhone, when we deal with it, the tokens are actually gone, and it's not there even on the hard disk of the mobile. So that's work in progress actually right now. We're trying to recover that. And I said, even if we recover it, we'll take at least 1 Bitcoin from you as a fees. That was on a lighter side. He's not going to give us 1 Bitcoin. But look at the kind of issues and the problems people are having. So are we looking at only CISO to look into your cybersecurity, or it is the first of all, is it not only CISO, but it has to actually come from CEO? Now, certain acts like GDPR and Data Protection Act are going to make the CEOs liable for the security and the cyber security of the organization. We did a survey a couple of years back on cybersecurity preparedness of corporate India. We at Netrika did that. And we found that maximum, I think 65% of the companies do not even have a CISO in their organization, or a dedicated cybersecurity person into their organization. The IT managers are typical IT network guys who just know how to do the troubleshooting and let the emails and other things in the office run. They're not even aware of what cybersecurity means for them. So it is all about how, again, it has to be a top-down approach always, whether you're looking at putting up ISMS, whether you're looking at ISO 27001 or some other things. It is all about how are you looking at, and what is your top-down approach to look into cybersecurity? What is the kind of budgets you are looking at? What kind of sincerity, what kind of seriousness you have about security? It is similar like any other security. When we talk about, in the previous panel discussions, we spoke about how the technology is taking over. Now the technology is taking over entire risk portfolio, entire security portfolio. When we are putting up the locks now, which are, you're opened with your Wi-Fi tools, or probably your thumb impression or retina or whatever, your technology is taking us to a very different level. But does that mean that if you're not aware of the security protocol on the cyber side, nobody actually needs to break the lock into of your house. It is just about, hacking into your system and entering into your house when you're traveling outside. It just takes few minutes. Or probably there is a photo which I generally show in a few of my presentations, which is of computer, and a hand is going inside the computer and stealing your money. So nobody actually needs to be at your home to steal your money. He could be sitting in some other country, few thousand miles away, and just taking all away your money on the click of a mouse.
Yeah. So, thanks, Sanjay. Some takeaways which all three of you have given is, at a strategic level, I just say, cybersecurity is a major issue. And I'll before I close, I want to have a quick round of questions. One question, and that's very important. So, but at a strategic level, I personally feel, and what's coming in from you, we should have a business continuity plan specific to the cybersecurity. is cyber risk management. We talk of it, but it has to be retrospectively put in on paper. Disaster recovery plan from any cyber attacks, your incident response plan from the cyber attacks, and your cyber resilience, of course, that's very important. At a strategic level, they need to do it. So before we close, I just want to work on the Indian scenario because that's one area which we have to always discuss. And India being a huge market when it comes to the cyber security. So where do you see India as where do we stand as regards the cyber security management as on day? So a quick one. So before we close, I think you have 3 minutes to close the session, so we can work on that. Over to you, Preeti. Are we prepared? Are we not prepared? So you can just give it a quick viewpoint on that.
Yeah, we are a long way from being prepared. There, as we all agree and we've all acknowledged that the cyber security threat is only increasing, and with AI coming in, probably this is going to grow even multifold. So preparation is very much needed, and it is. Like all of us just said, not just the CSO's responsibility, right from the CEO, and generally when we see the organizations, the compliance and the security officers are the ones that people like to within the organization, they like to surpass those. So the right kind of emphasis on actually following the policies which have been created, and instilling the right risk management behavior through training is very, very important. And so I think,
Thank you. Just on the short on the time, I want to be bang. I want to hand over on 6:30 sharp to Dr. Mathur. Ratna, just over to you. A quick one. Your point.
Sure. I'll just finish in one sentence. According to me, in India, the digital adoption is very high, but cybersecurity as such, I think baby steps yet, long way to go. That's all I'll end with.
Thank you very much. Thanks. That's really interesting. And Sanjay, from your side.
We are far away to even say that we are cybersecurity prepared. I just said that we had at Netrika launched a survey. The report is available on our website. Very interesting report and very interesting findings. We have also launched a awareness program around 2.5 years back, just before the COVID, on an FM, where we were giving tips on the people to just understand what they should do and what they should not do. I think we are not there. It's a long way.
Agreed. And everybody resonates the same thing. As an Indian industry, we have a long way to go. We have to really work on the strategies. We really need to work on the policies. We have to have a top-down approach, and cybersecurity has to come to the forefront to safeguard. Just by saying, I'm secure, don't be, take it that you're not going to be hit by any cyber attack. It may happen the very next second. So that's the situation we are all in today. So thanks very much, my panel, Preeti, Ratna, Sanjay, for very insightful discussions, very interesting discussions, and very pertinent topic what we touched upon. Thank you, Business World, and thank you, Dr. Mathur. Over to you. And it's exactly 6:30. I think we did it in time. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.